What's going on, guys, and welcome back into Breaking Boards. In today's episode, we are going to break down Monday Night Football's showdown contest over on DraftKings between the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to take on the Green Bay Packers. This game total currently sits at 45.5, with the implied team total for both teams being 23. I apologize for being away over the weekend again. Some major health concerns in my family and trying to get those things settled, which has kind of cut into my schedule. And one of the reasons why I cut back on the side a little bit. So I apologize for all that, but you guys aren't here to listen to my problems. You're here to break down NFL DFS. So let's jump into the breakdown for Monday Night Football. Looking at this thing from a 30,000 foot view, I think that there are some unique ways to build, and we'll talk about those as we go throughout the video. I think as we look for cash considerations or the amount of salary that you can leave on the board, currently my best projected lineup has spent 49.6. A lot of my top teams here are right around that, maxing out the salary range. I see 40, 49, 48 is about where I would stop leaving salary on the board. So I'm okay leaving, 1,600, 2,000, 2,500 on the board if you'd like. My lowest projected lineups here. And they project significantly less than my top projected lineups. So about 30 points different. But what I do is I always build 1,000 lineups and I dictate my ownership based on that first 1,000 that I run. But when I cut out and trim some of the fat, this ownership will change as we move throughout the day. But I do think that you can spend, again, 48, 49,000. I think leaving much more than that on the board is not the way to go tonight. I do think that, again, there's some ways to attack this slate that will lead us to spending more of the salary, and it won't be much of a concern as we move throughout the breakdown. Looking first here at the Philly side and looking up top at Jalen Hurts. If I had Hurts in the captain spot, I'm okay building even two 4 builds with the QB up top, which I don't typically do, but we do have some rushing upside here for Hurts. So I'm fine with 2-4, 3-3, or 4-2 builds. And what I mean by that is if you have Jalen Hurts in the captain, a 2-4 build would look something like this, and then you would run it back with 4 Packers. A 3-3 build would look something like this, run it back with 3 Packers. And then a 4-2, might look something like this, run it back with 2 Packers in the flex there in case there was some confusion or you're new to showdown content. But if I have Hurts up top, you can pair him alongside Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, Jake Elliott, Jahan Dotson, Tank Bigsby, Will Shipley, Xavier Gibson with John Mechie being moved, Grant Calcaterra, and I think that's about it. Darius Cooper may see a couple of snaps, but if you want to get him in there at 200, you can. Probably not something I'm going to be looking to do. I do think this is a good slate for a max entry style of format. If you're looking at building 150s, anything of that nature, I do like this slate quite a bit. So again, I would have Hurts along with one of those pass catchers, or 2 of his teammates, or even 3 of his teammates, and then run it back with 2, 3, and 4 from the Green Bay side. If I were building Hurts captain lineups, I think my favorite way to go is Hurts, Goddard, and one of the wide receivers here, Smith or Brown. For the sake of this one, we'll put Smith in there, and then Jake Elliott. And I would run it back on the other side with 2 players from the Green Bay team. If you're looking at running back for Philly here, you have Saquon Barkley. Up top, you have Will Shipley. A.J. Dillon's kind of been cut out a lot because Tank Bigsby is breaking on to the scene here. And just pulling up my numbers here, as far as snap share that I have projected for this game, I have 80% of the work going to Saquon, 20% going to Tank Bigsby, and 15% going to Will Shipley in this matchup. Bigsby broke onto the scene last week. He only had 9 carries, but I think he had over 100 yards in last week's game. 104 yards, 13 for 4 fantasy points. I don't expect anything along those lines, but I do think we see 3-4 fantasy points, and I do think he's looked good enough and powerful enough to spell Saquon and make sure Saquon doesn't see 25, 30 carries a game that he was last year. So I do think you can lean on Tank Bigsby at that $2,800 price tag. I won't have any of him in the captain spot, but if you want to mix him in the flex, I don't mind that at all. Will Shipley is the guy who's starting to get some work taken away from him. He can catch a pass at any point, but I think you're probably talking less than 2, 3 fantasy points. And I view him kind of much in the same light as Big B, but I do prefer Bigsby in a vacuum, in that I think that if Bigsby gets hot on the ground, they'll continue to feed him, kind of like they did last week. Will Shipley is someone that if you get him in at that $1,800 price tag, I don't hate it, but not someone I'm going to consider in the captain spot on Monday night. I think when you look up top here with Saquon, I do think that they're starting to limit, those massive workload games that he was having last year. I mean, he's still seeing a fine amount. I mean, 19. He's seeing around 20 touches, but I think that his ceiling is somewhat capped. That game last week was a great game for him, but I mean, he averaged 10.7 yards per carry and had 2 touchdowns. Can we really expect that to happen weekly? I don't think so, and I don't think so against this Green Bay defense. I think we're talking more around this range here for the output for Saquon. Probably a game just like this one here against Tampa Bay. Maybe a little bit more yardage there. I do have him projected around the mid 18 fantasy points in this spot. He actually, believe he was my most owned captain. He is my most owned captain given the current iteration of my lineups. Again, I haven't narrowed those lineups down. And then if we look over at the flex spot, not nearly what I would expect him to be. So it looks like if I'm going to be playing him tonight, it'll be in the captain spot, which we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the Green Bay side. But I am going to look to have a lot of Philly lineups where Philly is the captain, whether that be Hurts, Smith, Goddard, Brown, even Jake Elliott or Saquon would be the guys I would look to have in the captain spot for Monday night. Again, if you have Saquon up top, I'm fine doing a 2-4 or a 3-3 build. What a 2-4 build would look like would be something like this. Running back with 4 players from Green Bay. I do prefer the Green Bay side in the flex in that they spread the ball around so much. If you're running a 3-3, it might look something like that. And then back on the other side with 3 Green Bay, or something like this, 3 Green Bay, or even this 3 Green Bay. And I don't mind even, making it look like this and 3 Green Bay on the other side as well. So a lot you can mix and match with here with Saquon up top. Again, I don't mind getting to him quite a bit in the captain spot, which, again, he is my most owned captain per my current iteration of builds. If we are looking at the wide receiver spot, typically Philly hasn't gone any deeper than 4 wide receivers deep in any game as far as snaps. So for Monday night, you're going to have A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, you'll have Jahan Dotson, and you'll have Xavier Gibson. I think that's where it stops. You can consider Cooper if you'd like. It's not going to be something that I'm going to do for Monday night. Gibson, $1,000 player here. I do think he sees, probably 1 catch, maybe 1-2 targets. And maybe he can make something happen with those passes, but not going to be something that I'm going to be planning for on Monday night. Fine player. I think they'll work him in. He'll probably see, I had him projected, pulling it up here, for 10% of snap share on Monday night. So not someone I'm going to look to get crazy over the field on, but if he fits in a lineup and in the right bill for $1,000, I don't hate it. Won't consider him in the captain at all. Jahan Dotson's a bit priced up for his production. He did see an 11 last week, and I think that's maybe why he bumped up a little bit. I would expect him to be, in the $2,800 range, given how his production has been. I mean, you see it here where he started at 28 and then this has kind of jumped all over the place. I think he's overpriced based on production, although he could work in. I think you're probably going to see something like that, but you probably take away the touchdown. If you take away that touchdown, 6 points off there. If he lands somewhere in the 3, 4, 5 fantasy point range, I think that's the most likely outcome on Monday night. Won't have any of him in the captain spot. I think you can consider quite a bit of captain ownership. I actually prefer Devonta Smith, and he's actually out targeted. And we're talking about targets, red zone targets, all that. He's actually been a better receiver this year than A.J. Brown for Philly. I don't mind getting to him quite a bit in the captain spot, and he is one of my favorite captains on the board. Pulling up my ownership here in the captain on Devonta Smith. He is 1, 2, 3, 4, my 5th owned captain for Monday night. I think you just look to, pairing him alongside, if you have him in the captain spot, you get him alongside, some of those 4-2, 3-3, 2-4 builds that we talked about earlier. Let's move this around so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about here. If you have Devonta up top, I don't mind getting to, if I'm building a 2-4, don't mind doing that, running it back before Green Bay. If I'm building a 3-3, something like that. If I'm building a 4-2, something like that, and then to Green Bay, running it back. And it's going to be the same thing here with A.J. Brown. If we throw A.J. Brown up top, which I will have some of him in the captain as well. If we're talking 4-2, that's what it's going to look like. If we're talking 3-3, boom. If we're talking 4-2, that's what it's going to look like as well. Moving over to the tight end spot for Philly here, we got Dallas Goedert, we got Grant Calcaterra as we scroll down. We have Kylan Granson as well, wherever he shall be. Is Granson not even on the board? Or am I just missing him? Oh, there he is. I'm special. And then we have Cameron Latu as well. Latu and Granson, those are going to be, your largest field dart throws. Will not be over the field on them at all. This is a good matchup for Philly at the tight end spot going against Green Bay. Green Bay's been kind of terrible against the tight end position on the year. And just pulling it up here, they are the 6th best matchup as far as fantasy points per game for opposing tight ends. We'll look to have quite a bit of these two guys in my lineups. I don't hate him at $600. I mean, you're probably talking 2-3 fantasy points, but that's going to get it done at $600. So he's going to be one of my favorite salary savers on the board. Won't have any of him in the captain spot. I love Dallas Goedert tonight, and he's been balling out. I mean, 19.7, that 11's fine, 29, great, 17. I mean, he's been really playing well over the last few weeks, getting more involved. And again, with A.J. Brown being not really the focal point of this offense, I don't mind getting to quite a bit of Goedert. If we have Goedert in the captain spot, again, I think we're talking 2-4 builds. We're talking that. If we're talking 3-3, we're talking something like that. And if we're talking 4-2s, something like that. Again, love Goedert for tonight's game. Next up, we have Jake Elliott, and we have the Eagles defense. Eagles defense, get in where you fit in. Won't have any in the captain spot. Probably won't be, probably max out defenses tonight around 15%. Not high on these defenses in the spot, in that both these squads are pretty solid teams. Much prefer the kickers in tonight's game to the defense. Would look to get to Jake Elliott. I don't mind getting him in the captain spot, honestly. I mean, I have him, I have a couple of lineups if I'm building 150 sets, so I don't mind him up top. He's played so for his salary. If you get the 12, you're looking all right, but he's had a couple of duds. But this is a pretty good matchup here, top 10 matchup against Green Bay for the kicker spot, so don't mind mixing in Jake Elliott in the captain spot, but we're talking 1 or 2 in 150s. Predominantly, we'll look to have him in the flex, and we'll look to be 25-30% in the flex spot, given that I'm going to be under the field on both defenses for Monday night. And that's going to do it for the Phillies side. And as we flip over to Green Bay, all right, with Green Bay, okay, and this is why we're going to be significantly over the field on Philly captain lineups. Green Bay spreads the ball around a ton. If I'm going to play Green Bay from a captain ownership spot, I'm predominantly going to have 3 guys, okay? If I'm playing captains, it's going to be Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, and Brandon McManus. And the reason for that is, if I'm building Jordan Love, and we'll start here with Love since he's the QB for Green Bay, I'm going to be looking to get to 4-2 builds because of so many pass catchers. Okay, even with Kraft out of the picture, we're probably talking 6-7 guys who are going to see snaps at the wide receiver, and tight end, and running back positions, maybe even up to 10. So if I'm going to build lineups where I'm going to have a Green Bay captain, it's going to be Love or Jacobs or McManus. But if I have a Love lineup, it's going to be 4-2 build. So probably something like Love, Dobbs, McManus, and then let's go Emmanuel Wilson, something like that, right? And run it back on the other side with 2 Philly players. You can mix and match this a ton. If we're talking 4-2 builds here with Jordan Love, you got Love. You could pair him alongside Jacobs, Dobbs, Golden if he plays, Watson, Musgrave, McManus, Wicks if he plays, Malik Heath, Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Brooks, John Fitzpatrick, Savion Williams if he plays. Quite a few guys here for Green Bay that Josh Wiley, $200. Don't love it, but you can get him in there if you'd like. I would pick, 3 of those teammates alongside Jordan Love if I'm building Green Bay Jordan Love captain lineups. If we're talking about my next captain here would be Josh Jacobs, and then looking at the running back position overall for Green Bay, Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks. These 2 guys won't have any in the captain spot, but I love mixing them in the flex given their salaries and the amount of workload they're probably going to see. Pulling up my sheet here, I had Chris Brooks for 15% of snaps and Emmanuel Wilson for 35% of snaps on Monday night. Prefer Wilson. Don't mind mixing in Brooks just in case, and it is a 1-game sample. So if Brooks happens to get in the end zone, he could trump Wilson. So we'll look to mix and match both these guys. Again, prefer Wilson to Brooks, neither in the captain spot. Josh Jacobs, if I have him up top, I'm probably looking at a 2-4 build, and we're looking at Jacobs and probably Dobbs or McManus. So it's probably going to look something like that, and then run it back on the other side with 4 of your Eagles. You can also consider, again, Dobbs is seeing 90% of snaps for Green Bay. He's the only pass catcher that I'm really feeling tonight, and I think his ceiling's capped, and his price is up. So if I'm building 2-4 here, Jacobs and McManus or Jacobs and Dobbs, run it back with 4 Philly guys on the other side. Looking at the wide receiver position, we have 911 of these guys. If I didn't miss anybody, we have Romeo Dobbs, Matthew Golden, Christian Watson, Dotavian Wicks. We have Malik Heath. We have Savion Williams. And all of these guys, if healthy and in the lineup, will see snaps on Monday night. The way that I'm going to look to get different, and the way I'm going to save some of my lineups, in my opinion, do this if you'd like, fade me if you want. I'm not going to have any of these guys in the captain spot. Unless 2 or 3 of these guys miss, I'm going to have 0 captain ownership on all these guys. So they will be flex options that I will mix and match in lineups where they fit in and where the lineup matches the contest that I'm going to be building for, giving combinatorial ownership and things of that nature. Not high on any of these guys. Isn't the best of matchups for these guys. If we're talking confidence rates and we're talking snaps, right? So if we're talking snap shares that I project, and this is with everyone healthy. If everyone is healthy, I'm projecting Savion Williams for 12% of snaps, Christian Watson for 60% of snaps, Malik Heath for 40, Dontavian Wicks for 35, Matthew Golden for 60, and Romeo Dobbs for 90% of snaps. Dobbs would be my preferred player if everyone is in, but I'm not overly high on him as well. And then the rest of these guys, again, are mix and match. Get them in where you can fit them in. If you're feeling one of these guys over the rest of the crew, or if it comes out that 2 or 3 of these guys miss throughout the day, feel free to change what I'm telling you now. But as I'm looking at this thing at 11 a.m. on Monday morning, and with no concrete news on the health-related issues with these guys, again, no captain ownership on any of these players. And I won't have any on any pass catcher from the Green Bay side. And looking at the tight end position, we have Luke Musgrave, we have Fitzpatrick, and we have Josh Wiley. Wiley, all these guys, get them in where you can fit them in. Not going to be in the captain spot for me at all. I'm actually quite significantly under the field on these guys. I actually prefer Fitzpatrick if I were going to play one, but even at his $1,600 salary, I don't love it. Horrible matchup here also for tight ends. Let's see here. These guys are in the 3rd toughest matchup on the board for tight ends. So we'll look to be under the field on all of these guys. Favorite play probably for Green Bay, and this kind of makes me want to throw up, but it should make me different, is going to be Brandon McManus, and I'll even consider a couple of him in the captain spot. And then Packers defense. Packers defense kind of viewed in the same vein as Philly's defense don't love it tonight and won't look to be more than like 15% in the flex, given how much I love the kickers. Will be significantly over the field on Brandon McManus. He may be my top owned player given how he fits builds. And just pulling up here with, again, that initial run, haven't narrowed this thing down, but he is my most owned player, and I'm fine with that. I think tonight's game will be, 26-23. Probably going to get 3-4, maybe field goals from McManus, and Green Bay is going to look to keep this thing close. I think they spread the ball around too much to really pop off any other player. So Brandon McManus, I'm going to be significantly over the field, and it's not comfortable, but it's just how I'm going to build my lineups tonight, and it's what I'm seeing as far as the contest and how I see this game playing out. So that's what you want to do in showdown lineups as well. Is you want to kind of put together the plan of how you see the game playing out, and don't build all your lineups that way. But I'm only going to build a few lineups tonight. If I decide to go 150, I'll have a few with different various types of builds. But how I see this game playing out is a slog, very close, 26-23, something along those lines where, and I'm not sure which side's going to win. But, again, one of those games where it's just both teams look to play this game intelligently. They're not looking to go out here and try to boat race the other side. So I think this game will play fairly tight throughout. And that's going to do it for the breakdown of Monday Night Football's contest. Again, I apologize for being away over the last couple of weeks. Not sure how much you guys want to know, but pretty significant health scare in my house. So we're not going to worry about it until we know more. But it is what it is, man. And we're going to keep pushing forward and fight it, the best we can. And we'll see where it plays out. But appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully you take down something large on Monday Night Football. Moving forward, I'm going to try to make as many videos as I can. I'm not going to make that promise where I'm going to try to make a video for every slate as I once was. That was the plan heading into this year. But again, plans change given what's going on. But the plan is to get as many of these videos out to you guys as I can. And then once things kind of settle off and I know that I can commit to it, then we'll get back on the pony and we'll kind of, go back to what we were doing. But for right now, until I have more information, it is what it is, guys. And I apologize. Again, glad you all could be here. If you got something out of the content, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll be putting out as many of these as I can. Throughout the offseason, I look to do a bunch of best ball with you guys as well. In the top 100 overall in Best Ball Mania on Underdog right now. So hoping that team can push forward. It looks pretty good. Pretty solid build. On DraftKings, have a team that in the $20 has like 1,600, almost 1,700 points already. So that one's got to be up there. So we're hoping that best ball is working out great. We'll know that here again in a few weeks. But again, glad you all could be here. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you guys in the next video.